Did you know that artists on Spotify only make 0.002 cents per play on the platform? So when someone like me listens to a song, that's all they get. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I can't see how a music artist could possibly make money starting off and trying to get their music out on Spotify and thinking that it might make a decent living for them. It's pretty much impossible. Now, I have Ryan Jones joining me on this episode to talk about his project called Project NEUM. And it's a really interesting decentralized music platform for the artists where they're not only just streaming music and, distributing it to the wide masses and earning a little bit of revenue from it, but they're also dealing with the publishing side of things as well and managing the music rights. And that is very, very interesting. And Ryan explains the entire music industry to me, and I can see exactly where they fit in and the problems that they solve. This is an absolutely banger of an interview. Let's get into it.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
I have Ryan Jones joining me on this episode to talk about a very interesting project looking at solving some really big issues in the music industry and streaming music in particular. And it's called Project NEUM. Hopefully I said that right. Ryan, welcome to the podcast. And did I say that right?
Oh, you said it correctly. It made me very happy. There's no NEWM or anything like that. It is definitely NEUM.
All right, awesome.
And it's from that's from the old term NEUM, NEUME, which is pneumatic notation, which is one of the earliest forms of Western civilization music notation that was used. So that's my little bit of music nerd that came out in the naming of this thing.
Ah, nice. So that's so people in the industry or music would actually know or cotton on to the name.
Some would.
Some would.
Right. Some would, some not so much.
So let's learn a little bit about you first, because I think this is the first time that we've ever spoken, really. And I'd like to know how you got into your crypto journey and how on earth you got to this point where you started up this project.
It's a great question. So I am a musician by day. So I have 2 master's degrees, one in music education and then one in, technically it's choral and sacred music, but it's a conducting master's from USC. So I'm a Trojan, fight on. So I taught public school choir for about 5 years. And then I'm also a church musician. So I've played in church since I was about, 10. And then in various forms of music making in the public sphere and, doing studio work. I did, when I was in LA, we did the Emmys with Elton John, sang with Take 6, Barry Manilow, did some fun stuff. And, if you're a Firefly nerd,
yep.
Okay, I have a signed copy of Firefly from Nathan Fillion because I was in a space mariachi band in something called, Sparks, Nevada, with the cast of Firefly. So I got to hang out with Dave. Yeah, it was bizarre. And actually, that is definitely alpha. I have not said that publicly, but yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I got to
hang out with Nathan Fillion and the cast of Firefly for a weekend. So that's some stuff that I did. And anywho, so while I was out there, I was in LA around 2011. I heard about Bitcoin like around 2012. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I've always been a tech person. I love technology. I don't know how to code. My father, he built a computer way back in the day, like early 90s. And so I would play around with the, DOS prompt and had no idea what I was doing, but I love to tinker. And so I'm comfortable breaking things and not necessarily putting them back together, but I'm okay breaking things. That's fine. So naturally I was kind of drawn to like, what the heck is this? And so in hindsight, I've realized, okay, this is this magic internet money somebody created. It's apparently nobody controls it. So that's a little ridiculous, but also really cool. But in hindsight, I was a poor college kid who didn't know how to save his money. So I should have eaten more ramen and bought these magic internet coins, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So fast forward 2014, I knew about the Bitcoin boom. By boom, $1,300, I think, right? Yeah.
Yep.
If only. And then I heard about Ethereum, and I went, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And so I followed crypto for a while, but I started investing. When I had my big boy job, making real money. Around 2015, 2016. And 2017, December 10th, if I'm not mistaken. I bought my first ADA, and so that I saw the Charles Whiteboard video. And as you do, you get sucked into it, and you just go, "This makes sense." I was in academia. I understand peer research, peer reviewed. I understand the articles and how that works. And that process. My wife has her PhD in political science. I married up. She is much smarter than I am. I'm used to reading academic journals, at least from the music side and political science side. So whenever IOHK or IO started, when I was realizing, they've put out this entire thing of research, let me look at this. And so understanding where the space was at that time, I had always been on the sidelines looking, but not actively participating. I went, okay, this I can get behind. I feel like this is a viable path forward. I want to really dig in. So that's kind of how I got into Cardano. And so I've been in the space actively engaged since 2017. But fast forward about, went through a bull market. I stayed for the sick gains and still stayed after they went away, and I didn't sell anything. And I just kept learning and kept, getting to know the community. And ITN days happened. I first talked to Rick McCracken during the ITN on Telegram saying, "Rick, I don't know how to get my trusted peers. Please help me." And so, spent hours via correspondence going back and forth with him trying to help me out. And I got to about that point and it didn't pan out for me. So, I went, okay, well, that's not my calling. All right, good. Anyways, but along the way, I got to really know a lot of people. And when I first conceived of what this is, it was around 2017 because I knew Spotify and the streaming services. Actually, I think around 2017, the whole Tidal thing had happened too, with the Dre coming in and buying Tidal, and then trying to quote flip it, and it didn't work, and it failed, and that kind of put that on my radar. And I was thinking, oh man, I have some stuff I want to put out there, but I don't want to put them out there on the streaming services because it's like I'm not going to get paid anything. I don't want to go tour. I don't want to do that. I want to put my music out on a digital medium. I love to create. I do film score composition. I do, I have a studio in my house.
Yeah.
I can record stuff here, and I just want to put it out there. I don't want to go on tour. I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. I'm good. But I still want to make a comparable wage, right? Like I don't need to be superstar famous, but if I put out something I spent 60 to 80 hours working on, if 1,000 people listen to it, I definitely don't want to get just like $2. So, I was thinking, okay, well, what do you do? Well, fast forward a couple of years into the Cardano space, I went, well, this is stupid. You can do it through this. This makes total sense. Why is it so cheap on the traditional side? Because there's so many people in the way taking cuts along the way. Oh, well, what if we can replace them, right? Or remove them? Oh, how much extra money is left on the table, right? And where does that actually go? So that's kind of that was the thought impetus that led me down this road. And then, so fast forward, my first conversation about this whole thing was with Kyle Solomon and Mark Sapka. And Kyle was like, I ain't got time. I got my other stuff I'm doing, which if anybody knows Kyle, he's a mad scientist. And I mean, listen,
he's a busy guy. Definitely a busy
IoT,
guy.
Yeah, Internet of Things, smart contracts, and 3D printing, and ag tech for Kyle. I want to know when he's going to drop the next like just ridiculously crazy thing, because he's going to do some stuff, and I'm just waiting for it. Anywho, so fast forward, I met with them, and so they were like, okay, great, I can help a little bit. You can't, fine. I got in touch with my now co-CEO Florian Zorg, and he did the bubble pop. I'm a musician, not a businessman, and so I said, hey, I want to do this, and he said, well, great, it's not going to work. I was like, well, that sucks. Can you make it work? And with that conversation, it kind of morphed. So originally my original idea was, I just want to create a blockchain-based streaming service that allows me to put my music out there, and I can make a comparable wage. That's it. And well, it morphed to what it is now as we've gone on, and we've realized different pain points along the way, and actually that we can tackle them. So Florian came up with the business model for the platform to actually work. And so if you have users, everything's fine. It's how do you bootstrap something, right? And so in that vein, when we first were talking about this, you have the streaming component, and then you have a marketplace component. And so, for a consumer, they have a subscription. So we're going to go with a subscription model, right? For a consumer of the music / if they're on the marketplace of the platform. And so basically our streaming platform will operate at a deficit until we reach a certain level of users. However, what's going to happen, and what really is actually driving the impetus for this platform, is the marketplace / transactions. And so that's going to carry the load until the streaming service reaches a certain threshold of users to where it's a net positive return to the artist.
Okay. Yeah. I literally just thought it was going to be a streaming service, but it sounds like you're tapping into a whole bunch more things since Florian has gone in and popped the bubble, as you said.
Oh yeah, no, we're so now, I don't call us a streaming service. We are not that. We are a decentralized music ecosystem. So think of us as, I don't know, the Apple to all things music, right? Because what does Apple do? Like, they sell you expensive things, but what they do is they get you in the ecosystem, and you don't really want to leave because it's convenient. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for us, I want this to be a place for a musician to live from the day they compose / conceive their piece of music to the day they want to retire. And so within that vein, you have a lot of things and a lot of needs that an artist will have to have, right? And so that's how we kind of came to where we're at, and we can talk a little bit later, but now this is how we've gotten our 5 big pillars of what we're actually going to be doing, and the order in which we're going to do them.
It's really cool that it evolved that way as well, and you've now it seems like you've gotten to a really good point where you have a solid platform, and we'll go into that in a moment as well. But I would also like to understand. I don't have any insight into this, but how much money do artists actually make or not make on Spotify at the moment? And other streaming platforms like Apple Music and all those other ones. I'm assuming there are so many middlemen in this process that they're getting cents, right?
There's a couple. Yeah. We'll go with Spotify because actually that's the 800-pound gorilla on the block, for lack of better terms. And there's an average, and what people don't realize is that depending on the geolocation of your listener, that depends on how much money you make per stream.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. So funnily enough, if your piece of music gets played in, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the Baltic nations. I want to say Estonia. I think that's when you actually make the most per stream.
Wow.
I don't know why. It is what it is. But the average play cost per stream is 0.002 cents.
0.002 cents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
That is ridiculous. And does a user have to listen to the whole song for the artist to make that 0.002 cents?
I believe it's the first. Don't quote me on this. This is one technical, but I think it's around either 30 to 40 seconds of the piece. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So, because if you're flicking through things, you're not gonna. The artist isn't gonna make anything. You have to listen to a certain amount of it.
Yeah. So, and one other caveat to all this is that. You are owed your royalties as a musician. If somebody listens to your music, you're owed your money, right? Well, on Spotify, as an artist, you can have $900 owed to you from streaming royalties, and but you're not going to get paid that. They only pay you once your account balance gets to $1,000.
Ouch.
Yeah. So what does that mean in everyday terms? Well, essentially, they're holding your money that you're owed and they're reinvesting it into their own company. So they're literally stealing from you. And somebody will go, well, why doesn't the musician, why don't they take them to court? Well, you go, okay, well, let's think about this. If I'm a musician, I can spend 5 hours with a lawyer and pay legal fees for 5 hours worth of legal, or I can go spend 5 hours and go play a gig that night and make, I'm going to lose money. If I try to go get my $1,000 of royalties, I'm going to lose money on the legal versus just going and playing a gig and making some money that night. So it's cost prohibitive for that artist really to go after it and try to actually recoup their cost. So just FYI, it takes roughly 500,000 views of a piece of music to get to $1,000.
Right, that's brutal. So if you're popular, I'm assuming you'll get those numbers quite easily. But if you're a struggling artist that's just launching their first album, independently, it's why would you even want it on the platform? It's purely just reach, isn't it?
Well, and if you think about it, who determines your reach? It's the algos, right?
Yeah.
But there's a dirty little secret that's not so much a secret, and it's that the algorithms are controlled by 3 humans that live in LA, and depending on who you take to dinner, that's going to determine if your piece of music gets popped up through that algorithm into the listeners.
It just sounds like the music industry to me.
They pick the winners and losers essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So we have an ambassador for NEWM, one of our ambassadors. He's a very prominent indie country artist. And once upon a time, he made it on Spotify on the algo for the top 40 charts for country. He was climbing the charts. He got past 20, and then he woke up one morning and his piece of music was off of the playlist. And he had no recourse. And I can tell you what happened. It's because a large label has also a competing artist that's a country person, and he, as an independent artist, was cutting into the profits of the other country artist who's owned by the label. And they said, no. And that when Spotify started, that essentially, so they wouldn't get squashed by labels, right? Because remember, this was right around the time of Napster and all these things. And labels had come off their golden era of the early 2000s. Basically they said, hey, don't squish us, work with us, and we'll give you, a percentage ownership over Spotify. So the big 3 labels own part of the streaming service itself. So, it's a scratch my back, scratch your back, we all win together gatekeeper situation.
Wow. So. Okay. Had absolutely no idea. I knew there was something like that happening in the background, and someone was pulling all the strings. But that's brutal. There's no way for an independent artist on Spotify.
It's really hard. It's really hard. Obviously there are some, but they're fewer and farther between. I think there was an article published about 2 weeks ago that was saying, was it only 80% of artists on Spotify only get an average of 56 views per month or something like that?
56 views. Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
Take that for what you will. We can unpack that later, but yeah, that's what this article was stating. So.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for that background and insight into the industry. It's really good to actually understand that, so we know where you guys are coming in and trying to flip that narrative. So you've got your subscription side of things, which will, I'm assuming, work in a very similar way to how Spotify works. People subscribe. I'm assuming it's going to be a comparable cost as well. But
yes.
Then what's all this other stuff that you're doing for the music artists so that they can have this whole ecosystem around there?
Yeah. So if you think about it, currently the way the current system is set up basically is, if there's two sides to the equation. There is the songwriter side / composer side, and then there is the recording artist side. And both of these get paid from different sources, essentially. And so I was saying this last night during our Twitter space, is that a composer, they get paid from a PRO, so a performance rights organization, like ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, or they get paid by their publisher. And then on the recording artist side, they either get paid directly through their DSP, so their digital distribution service, like CD Baby, DistroKid, or that they use them to get their music onto the platforms, or via their label. Because 9 times out of 10, if a musician signs with a label, they are giving away 100% of their master rights, their IP rights, to the label, right? Yep. And so then they get whatever the label gives them after the label makes that recoupable back. So that's how the current system is set up in a nutshell. So basically what we're doing is we're going to do 5 things. And so we have, on the streaming side, it's decentralized streaming and hosting for your music. And in that we have a direct tipping for artists, and then that's all the player side and all the things, and that's kind of the people know what that is. Yeah. Minus the tipping, right? So like I played in the library bar in high school for 3 years. That was my job. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, like 4 or 5 hours, people come in pre dinner for drinks and smokes and whatnot. So tip jar was great. Somebody's really appreciating what you're doing. They might drop $100 bill in there, and you're like, "Hey, thanks for gas money for the week." So, it seems small, but if you have a large fan base and they're really feeling you, if you get 10,000 people that tip you $1, it adds up real fast. Yeah. So there's that side, but then where the magic really happens, and where we've done something completely, in my opinion, different and just revolutionary, is we have a marketplace. We're going to have this marketplace for people to go to buy and sell some things. Okay. And what are those some things? Yeah. The big thing is this: when an artist, why does an artist sign with a label? 9 times out of 10, they need money. That's just what it amounts to. And so they say, "Dear label, please sign me and please pay me money to make music." And the label says, "Sure, we like what you're doing. We don't have anybody else in our catalog that's like your music. So sure, we'll bring you on. By the way, here's your upfront check for the next year and a half or whatever. And here it is. Thank you very much. Great." And the musician goes, "Oh, this is great. This is like $500,000 or $250,000. I'm good." And so they go about their business, and they're making their music and whatnot. And then they like finish the CD. This has happened to some people, and they go, "Hey, label, I've got this awesome piece, like this awesome thing we've just created." And the label's like, "This is great. We're not going to release this until the next year." And then you go, "What? Why?" And they go, well, we already have an artist that's really doing well right now, and we don't want you to cut into their profits, i.e. our profits. So let's ride them a little bit longer, and then we'll let you guys have your time in the spotlight.
But then what happens if someone else like pops in and go, well, this one might do better?
Yeah, who knows? Exactly.
Wow,
There is no
okay.
guarantee. So what does that mean? Well, also 9 times out of 10, when that artist that's not known has signed their contract, anything they created while under contract is not owned by them. It's owned by the label.
Oh, this just gets worse and worse. So anything, even if they're just like in a bar and create something off the
If they go recorded,
yeah.
that's it. They got to keep that. If they do that, that needs to be under wraps until they're finished with the contract, right?
Wow.
But,
okay.
yeah, if they wanted to get out to the public, that's under label. And so, if you think about it, you get golden handcuffed as an artist. So and that's a problem, right? And so so they need money. But so here's what we're going to do. If you have a piece of music and you have a following of people, and you go, hey, I'm going to sell 20% ownership over the masters for the streaming royalties for my music. You can buy and own a piece of music. And if you own it, you join me in reaping the revenue because you're a partial owner. Well, now you're able to crowdsource funding to continue creating music, right? And now you've also allowed the listeners or your fans to not just consume, but now they're an active participant in your success as an artist because your success equals a paycheck for them as well, right? So they have a fiscal incentive for you, right? And so we basically, we're essentially creating a new asset class. Think of it almost like a stock market for music.
Yeah.
So David Bowie tried to do something like this in the 90s with the Bowie bond. He tried to do this thing, but he went after, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like hedge funds or something like that, and it didn't fit their business model in the slightest. So
a hedge fund, I can understand that they have money, but it's not that kind of stock. Yeah.
So that's the really big thing that we're facilitating is that fractionalized IP rights over the masters, specifically in reference to streaming royalties. And so that's a big thing, and that opens up a whole world of possibilities. But that's the biggest impetus for the marketplace is so people can, and if you listen to a piece of music, you go, hey, I really like this. Oh, I can own part of this. Oh, wow. Okay, great. And so then that leads you into NFTs of pictures or things like this are very low hanging fruits. They're easy to do. Last night, Andrew, our CTO, was joking. He said, we can do NFTs. Those are pretty easy. We've dropped 2 already. They have no use and utility, but we've said that up front. They're just a happy thank you from us to the community for choosing to stay with us. So the marketplace, you can, an artist can sell a JPEG if they want to, but it's really for them to be able to have those IP rights to be tradable. And then also, if you do this, you can also do ticket sales. And that's a big, big thing, right? So Ticketmaster is a middleman right now, and they take between 20 to 30% of the revenue.
You're going after all the middlemen here.
Well, there you go. Right. So, and they're also prone to bots buying up tickets to sell on the open market. And somebody would go, "Oh, what's wrong with that? You've sold all your tickets. You've sold out your show." Well, yes and no, because really the artist makes a lot of their money from selling merchandise to the fans at the physical venues. And if you sell out a 20,000 person show and you get there and only half of them are real people, then you need to close off half the arena, and the merchandise and the proposed sales for food and beverages from the venue that you had been projecting to have, it gets sliced in half.
Ouch.
That's demoralizing for an artist to perform to a half full house. The merchandise, you moved it, but it's not going anywhere because there's half the people to buy it. Then the venue goes, wait, we sold 20,000 tickets to this show. We planned for that, and only half of them showed up. Well, that's you know what I mean. So all around, that's a bad thing. So if you're utilizing our tech stack and using blockchain and either non-custodial or custodial wallets, it's much easier to be combative against a bot trying to go and create an account. Like for us, you have to KYC if you're an artist or if you're using the platform, because it's like if you're going to be buying music and owning music, then that gets into the realm of there's legal implications, right? So
yeah, okay.
KYC is a thing. Well, if you have to KYC your account, a bot's not going to be able to KYC an account for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So if you sell a ticket to an event on our platform, that's a real person. And so also, if you also think about it for targeted marketing as an artist, you now know potentially the age, the demographic, the location of the person, or the general location, right, of where their country of residence happens to lie, as well as you have access to their direct wallet link. So you can now have extremely targeted PR to these people, and also you can retroactively go, hey, you person that attended my concert with this ticket, either via a fungible or non-fungible token, if you have this in your wallet, you get access to a private concert by me at this date and time. Here's the link.
Amazing.
Now that ticket that you bought has a value all over again, right?
Amazing. Yeah, and you can do so many more mechanisms with that as well, like extra NFT drops, like extra merch access, like so many different things. Wow. Okay.
So
this is absolutely amazing.
It's all facilitated through that fundamental layer of what we're doing, and that's that that fractionalization. And that fungibles and non-fungibles, right? So So anyway, so that's the big thing on the marketplace side. So that has a whole bunch of stuff in it, just to complement and supplement for the streaming side. So this is only for one type of IP rights. Yeah, there's 6. So we can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a whole nother video. But yeah, that's okay. The music streaming or music in general is extremely convoluted when it comes to royalty payouts and who gets paid when something happens and all fun. Yeah. So
wow.
This is more of the proof of concept to show people, hey, this works. This is a new paradigm shift. We need to educate people and educate artists for the future. So.
It really sounds like the current industry has made it so complicated and so hard. I'm guessing like people have come in at different points and say, hey, we need a slice of this pie and, get us in. And they've made this whole system and platform where they are at the moment essentially controlling it all. And because there are so many people, the artists get absolutely nothing at the end. Absolutely brutal, but I'm glad you guys are doing something around this. Now, there was a couple of things I wanted to clarify, and again, because I'm not in the music industry, I don't really quite fully understand it all. These masters that you're talking about, so this sounds like the original licenses to a music that was created. I saw a video online, like a Snoop Dogg saying that his masters don't get released to him after like 30 years after he first created them. So some of his very first tracks, some of the stuff that he's never released, he said he doesn't get access to until like just now, and then he can do something with it. So can you explain what the masters are and what is this restriction behind it? But I know it's all under contract, but what does the master actually mean?
In the most simple term, have you heard of a DAW, like the term DAW, DAW?
I think I have when playing around with music files, like way back in the day.
Okay, so when you edit your video, right? Do you pull it up and are you a Mac or Windows guy?
Windows.
I won't hold it against you. Do you pull it up and do you have your audio editor of choice?
Yeah,
like
Audition.
Audacity. use Audition.
Yep.
Whenever you export that final audio file,
Yep.
that's a master.
That's
all it is.
That's it.
Really, in the most simplest terms, it's the project file of the recording session, essentially.
Yeah.
So if I open Logic Pro, or this is my DAW of choice, or Pro Tools, or whatever, and you record that session, that whole project file with everybody, all the recordings, all the audio files, all the MIDI instruments, the automation, all the things, right? The script itself.
Yeah.
That's the master. And so that mastered file, that audio wave file, that's all it is. It's a fancy term for that's the file on the computer. A stem is if you were to break up the master and either export individual tracks or groupings of the tracks.
Yeah.
Those are called stems. So if you put them together, they make the master. So that's how music is, or at least recorded music is classified right now. So when you're talking about masters for audio, you're talking about the recording artist, that final file that represents that recording. And musicians know that the money's in the master, because having the rights over the masters gets you certain types of royalties. And so that's where we're getting at with that.
Gotcha. And now in this marketplace, I can own part of that straight off the bat. The artist will not release the file, but release the rights to ownership of it on the marketplace. And I can buy as much as I want using a token or something in the mechanism and be able to own it. Okay, cool. Absolutely fantastic. Understand that. And the whole ticket sale thing as well, taking out the middleman there and removing them and getting that real data as well, so you know exactly who is buying your tickets, or as much as you can. I'm sure there's a lot of privacy issues around that as well, but you can anonymize a lot of that data. So
you're spot on.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. It's so much more deeper than just this online streaming platform, which I thought I was going to be talking about.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. It's a lot more. The streaming is really that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. So we have the artist side of things, right, and then we have the consumer side of things. Yeah, and so we're having to walk this tight line. Our target audience is not crypto. It's not. Our target audience is an everyday music consumer. And so in that vein, I don't know about you, but I do believe that your average listener who doesn't necessarily know anything about crypto except Bitcoin, what's that thing that they talk about on CNB Squawk Box? They're not going to want to write down a 24-word mnemonic phrase. And then you tell them, hey, if you lose that, you've lost everything. Thanks for playing. Come again. Right? That's just not viable. And so, in that vein, we need to have custodial wallets for consumers. But we all know this from being in Cardano. If you're on the platform, it's custodial, but that doesn't stop you from sending it off the platform to a non-custodial wallet somewhere.
Yep.
So there's things like that to take in consideration. But that we really want people to go, oh my gosh, this is really cool. This works really great. And then we say, oh, by the way, did you know that it's using blockchain and smart contracts to facilitate all this? Cool, right? Yeah. So
it'll just blow their mind at that point.
I'm really a firm believer that when Charles speaks about mass adoption and things of that nature, I truly, truly believe that we are uniquely positioned to actually help there be mass adoption, at least for the Cardano blockchain specifically, just based off of it's music. It's universal. People understand this, right? And to your point, people they treat music kind of passively right now. They just consume music, right? You put on Spotify or Pandora or any particular choice of streaming service, and you just consume. You don't think about it, right? It's there at your fingertips. People, what we're trying to do, and what my goal is, and the heart behind this for me is, I really, really want people to understand the value prop of a piece of music. It is no different when you create a piece of music than Picasso spending a year or two on a painting. The creative process is still just as labor intensive for music on the music medium, right? You have to have appropriate lyrics or text. You have to sit and think about. You spend hours, so many man hours in the studio recording different things, right? You and your bandmates, if it's bandmates, or if you're like Jacob Collier and you're just doing everything yourself in your house, and then you're just a beast of nature. This gets to, by the time one piece of music is done, you could have spent anywhere from, at a minimum, a couple hours to hundreds of hours of creative process and choice. Where do I pan this instrument? Do I put it to the left? Do I put it to the right? How do I EQ this singer? What frequencies do I need to remove from this equation right now? How much compression do I need, right? Do I want some type of tape saturation on this to create this quality of sound while I'm on this particular lyric, right? How much reverb do I want to add to this? If I'm doing, I don't know, something that's really ethereal, like that I really kind of want to speak spiritually, what equals that in an audible medium, right? There's so many choices that an artist needs to make, and they have to go through this process from start to finish. How much is that really worth, right? And so what I really want to do is I want people to start treating audible art with the same respect and intent that they treat visual art. And so I think people are more than happy to do that if they understood what the current structure and system really is and how predatory it is, and how much it's skewed, right? And so I think indie artists are a diamond in the rough, because they have a loyal fan base that follow them, not because of any hype from a media push, but because they genuinely enjoy their music and their creativeness, and it speaks to them, right? And so to that vein, if you offer them a chance to say, hey, I can directly support you, and I can be closer to you than just consuming it. I can actually own some of this. Oh my gosh, yes, this is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's to me is a paradigm shift. And I think this is our first step in that direction, personally.
I think you guys are onto something absolutely amazing, but there's a lot of questions that are coming up for me now. Now, you painted a fairly beautiful user experience, or how I'm envisaging it on your platform, because you said most users are non-crypto native. I'm assuming your platform would have to build out that user experience where people are just going on there and subscribing as they would now with Spotify, and then everything else just happens seamlessly in the background without anyone knowing. That, I'm assuming that is the plan, right?
Yes, we are mobile first for the consumer side.
Yeah.
But again, we have to get from point A to point Z, right? And we know what the end product is supposed to be. We know what it is, and we know how to get there. But the hardest part is the first steps, right? And so, like I said last night, is I feel like right now where we are at, we are releasing our MVP at the end of this quarter. And so what that looks like from a team standpoint, right? There's almost 30 of us now working on sweat equity on this thing. Yeah. I think Andrew's compiled a list of nine developers, just on the dev side, minus marketing and all the things. But we're pushing a boulder up a hill. And I think when we get to this MVP launch, at that point, it's a watershed moment of, okay, now gravity is going to help take over some, And so to that vein, decentralization is a spectrum. And we know that in the crypto space, decentralization is almost it's like a religion. And so, we have to be, we need to be real. And so what we're doing is certain aspects of this platform will be centralized until a viable decentralized alternative is available, i.e. storage of the audio file, storage of data. There is no decentralized storage solution on Cardano. We had considered using Storj, a a non-Cardano it's a solution. Well, they went down for like 48 hours a couple months ago. If you have millions of users on your platform and they can't access their audio for 2 days, that's not a viable business model, right? That's not viable. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So to your point, yes, there are certain things that will be centralized until that option's available. But our governing ethos is everything we're doing is open source. You can go to our GitHub right now and look at our commits and see folks doing stuff. If you want to contribute, by all means, like Andrew said last night, take a look at what suits you and what gets you up in the morning and you think you can get behind. But yeah, that's how we're approaching this essentially.
Right, gotcha. I did think that some parts of it had to be centralized. I can't see it fully working the way that you want it to without some sort of centralization. And what about like on-ramping payments? I'm assuming you're going to take fiat currency as the main currency that goes through the platform. So you have to work with regular payment gateways at the moment, such as Stripe or something like that, to accept payments. So that side of things doesn't even touch the crypto side. Is that right? I'm making huge assumptions here.
No. So we are basically we'll be allowing for fiat to pay or crypto as well for services. So, again, how do you start, right? We know where we want to get to where we'll accept X, Y, and Z. And here's if you pay with this, what does this get you versus if you pay with fiat, et cetera, all the things and whatnot. So, but yes, that's, we understand that as a normal consumer, they're not going to have crypto just willy nilly available, right? So, fiat, yes, that has to be an option for us.
Okay. All right. Great. Now, so that's the consumer side of things. And what about the artist side of things? Like, are you onboarding artists at the moment? You said you have an ambassador that's quite well known, quite popular as well. I'm assuming now you're looking for more artists to try and onboard the platform and get behind the idea. How is that side looking?
So we have an ambassador program, and that consists of various musicians or people in the music industry. So one of our ambassadors, they have their own label. They are music producers themselves. We have the artist. We have one of our ambassadors works in the music business side of things. Working with distributors, DSPs, and things like that. We have another another ambassador who works with live concert venues, i.e. Live Nation. That's Jarrett. He also works for manages, or he doesn't manage. He works with a particular artist, so he's doing all the live events, right? So we cover the gamut of different facets of the music industry with our ambassadors, and so they have connections in and through the entire industry. So we're tackling this in two ways. We're tackling it from a grassroots standpoint, so with the indie artists, and then we're also trying to tackle it from the top down of understanding that, labels can use our platform too. This is a great value prop for labels, because if I sign an artist and spend $500,000 up front for this artist, what do? I don't know if that artist is going to make it or not. I don't know if I'm going to make back my recoupable as a label. Well, if I spend $500,000 on you, I can then turn around and immediately go to the community and say, hey, we're selling 45% of the IP rights to the community, and I can make back my recoupable like that. And then I've de-risked myself as a label.
Wow. Okay, that is a really nice option for the label. Especially if they're not happy with the artist, or they're afraid, or it's conflicting with another part of their business. They can go, sorry, we have to get rid of this one and sell it back. It's like, ouch, but still.
Well, but truly, that's a thing, right? So we're tackling this from both sides. We have a mailing list right now for artists to sign up under that. So we have funnels on our website. So depending on who you are, right? If you're just a consumer, if you're an artist and you want to use the platform, what does that look like? So we have subscriptions for people that have subscribed to receive information about stuff. So we have metrics on that. And we have our Telegram group. We're about to start our Discord is coming soon, very soon. And so we, right now we can kind of tell engagement from the community of where we're at. as far as people ready for this to work. I mean, I'm telling you, I've had talks with hundreds of musicians that go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for this. When is this going to be ready?" So, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And I can tell you right now, we had a talk with an artist a couple of days ago who used a competitor. It's really not a competitor, but, and I quote, he said, "It's crap." I'm using the G-rated version. He basically, because it's like, there's nothing, you put your music there and you quote stream it and that's it. But you don't even do anything with it and you don't even really make anything extra with it. That's it. And it's expensive to use. This makes no sense. So I feel very much like Charles right now with Cardano. People say, "But you're behind." You're going, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." I don't feel pressure in the slightest that there's some other mover that's going to do X, Y, and Z and take over the new space. I really don't, because we're choosing to tackle all the parts at one time simultaneously, whereas anybody else doing stuff, they're only choosing to do one thing. And if you think about a user experience from a musician standpoint, do you really want, as a musician, to have to go to this platform to do royalties, this platform to do streaming, this platform to go sell my stuff, this platform to go do my ticket sales, this platform to do a DAO? No, you don't want to a la carte that together. You want to have one place that you can live, right?
I think that's the biggest thing that is going for your platform. You've taken it from the artist's viewpoint and their pain points, so that they can actually use the entire platform as what their home, essentially, to do everything they need to do. I think that's the big kicker, because all the other ones are approaching it as we're going to try and compete with Spotify and share the royalties to the various people, because there've been projects like this back since 2017. I listened to the podcast back then, and they were trying to solve this problem back then, and their premise was, the artist will play, and then we'll split the royalties to the guitarist, the drummer, and the singer. And that was essentially it. So big deal. That's not really solving anything for the artist. You could just do that, once a month between your mates or whatever. So it's not a really big deal. But this here is totally game changing for the artist.
I don't disagree, but thank you. I'm happy that that picture is easily to be seen, I think. So
yeah. So talking about your competitors, are there many at the moment, or other ones that are trying to do anything like this?
Yeah, there's a couple, and when I say couple, I really do mean like one or two. But again, nobody, to my knowledge, is trying to put everything together to where it all works together. And I think Cardano is uniquely suited for this. Because if you look at any of the competitors, they're choosing to build on other chains, which is fine. I'm chain agnostic. I don't have to be, one chain to rule them all. That's not realistic and feasible. Because we all know certain chains they focus on certain things, and it's a give and take, right? So some choose high throughput at the sacrifice of some security right now. Others, they take a different approach, all the things. But with Cardano, there's a couple of things to consider. We're not building this for just thinking 5 years down the road. I want to build this, and I want it to be something that my grandchildren could potentially be using one day, truly. And so you look at that and you think staying power of the chain. And say what you will, Polygon. It's a layer 2 solution for Ethereum. Right now, we all know when is ETH2 coming. Who knows? They've been coming since 2017 as well, but for some reason they don't get as much flack as we do. Cardano. But what happens to them, and how do they maintain their relevance once ETH does do a merge to proof of stake? What's their selling point at that point in time? Right. So anything that's been done on that layer 2 solution to accommodate this proof of work chain that we currently have, Immutable X. Polygon, are they going to still be relevant? Who knows?
Yeah. I see your point. Yep.
Also, BNB, Solana, they're copies of Ethereum that increase throughput at the sacrifice of security because they're highly centralized. It's just what it is, right? Do they have a good user experience because they're very quick to have a mobile experience? Yeah, but if you can start and stop the chain like a Windows PC, it freezes on you.
Hey,
I know I went there. But if you can do that willy nilly, how secure is it really? Who has real control? Is it truly decentralized? And do you really think it's going to be around? I just don't. I don't feel comfortable with that. And also, this market for IP rights on music, if you actually calculate this out based off of past year's revenue income from royalty payouts, this is easily a $1 trillion market just for music. And so if I'm going to be locking up $1 trillion of value in this ecosystem, I want it on a platform that their ethos is measure thrice, cut once, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why. I understand the developer experience is hard. I get it when you're dealing with Haskell, and Plutus, and the tooling isn't there yet. Rome wasn't built in a day. Exactly. Yeah. The tooling will get easier, but the fact that you're building on bedrock you're using, and again, we know it's not that the code itself is not. It can be fallible. But the attack vectors and keeping these contracts very simple diminish that possibility, and so that's another big advantage I think we have, because nobody else is building this, and nobody else is building it on top of this particular chain. Which, to my knowledge, I just don't understand why. Because when we have Hydra happen, that's a big part of our business model. If we're doing micro tipping, right, and micropayments and things like that, you need a state channel that has isomorphic state channel that has very, very tiny fees, right?
Yeah.
And also you need fee determinism when you go to mint your piece of music, right? Like if you don't know the cost, you can't run an effective business. So that to me is a big plus for us.
I can't see tipping ever working on Ethereum, considering that you might tip a few dollars and then pay $7 in gas fees.
Or like a multiple of 10 of that. But I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, they have side chains and ways to scale it, of course, but it's the core, it's the fundamentals. Okay.
Yes.
So the other thing I want to know about this is how can people support the project? I know you have a stake pool that you guys have and people can delegate to it. Is there a token behind this as well that people can buy as a part of a internal fundraising? What's the fundraising method for the project at the moment?
So I got to speak to Charles on a Twitter space last week or the week before last. And
how do you feel?
I fanboyed harder when I got to talk to Charles than any artist or musician or like a celebrity when I was in LA or anything I've done.
Yeah, okay.
Which I find hilarious. I got to what's his name? So Simon and Garfunkel, right?
Really?
Paul Simon. I got to hang out with Paul Simon this past year for a day.
I saw the photo. I did see the photo. Yeah, I was like, that's amazing.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
But if I'm comparing I didn't even meet Charles. I just spoke to him for a hot minute on Twitter. I got more nervous talking to him than saying, "Well, hey, Mr. Simon, how are you doing today?" Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so, sorry. So to that point, I told him, I said, "Thank you so much, because you've created a whole new way for us to fund our project." So to your point, our funding mechanism is the stake pool. That is paying for our stuff / myself right now. So really, if people want to directly support us, it's through the stake pool. We do have a token. It's NEWM, NEWM. And it's actually going to be, it's a governance and primarily a governance and then utility token. But for us, remember, we're creating a DAO. And so that's a whole nother conversation, but you're going to need our token to cast votes on the platform and to have a say in the direction and future of where this is going. And so actually I think a vote will be coming actually decently soon as a fun thing, just to start teaching people how to participate.
Right.
I work big on education, right? So, and So to that point, yes. And apparently somehow our token, and again, I will say this, we had nothing to do with this, which it's kind of humbling all at the same time. Somebody has put our token up on Sunday Swap. we did not do that. Somebody told us, we said, what? We didn't know there was enough tokens out there to even provide liquidity for anything, but okay.
Yep.
So, but this just to the stake pool, and the ratio payout is every 1,000 ADA you put in there, you get 13 NEWM every epoch. So that's the conversion rate, if you will.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I did check the stake pool as well. You're at around like 40 million or 44 million. I can't remember exactly.
I think it fluctuates between 40 to 43. When this is like, what's a few million among friends? I guess that's our. I think we have 950 unique wallet addresses delegating currently ish. Not that I watch that in the slightest. Never.
No, you don't. So is it enough in terms of funding? Is this one of those like 100% pools where you're taking all the ADA rewards to fund yourself? No, okay.
No, we're not. And so that's also another big ethos of ours. Is our fees are set to 25%, but we're very upfront about this with this, and we go, hey, 25% comes in NEWM, but you still get the remaining 75% in ADA. So we're keeping the ratio to where you're getting more ADA than NEWM on your payout. But for us, that is what we felt comfortable with. I did not feel comfortable with 100%. We've talked internally about, hey, if you're a person who's staking and you believe in the project and you want the option to give away more or to trade more ADA for the NEWM on your payout, we can potentially offer a stake pool with higher fees. So you're getting more NEWM and less ADA as a ratio. We haven't made that decision yet. Currently we have one pool, right? So I do think we're very quickly approaching a point to where we're gonna have to make a decision, because if we get too much closer to saturation, then we're gonna have to think about what to do at that point. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, I guess once you do hit those saturation points, then obviously there is that demand for the project. And as the project grows out and you start deploying it on the market and people start using it, people be more interested in jumping in. So that's probably when it's a good time to make a decision on that.
Yeah. We're lean. That's a good point.
Yep.
So our expenses are relatively, I say it's all relative, but they're relatively on the low end. And so that's good for us. So we're able to be good stewards. And Florian is a former hedge fund manager for private funds and whatnot. So he in numbers, and Florian's German, so he's conservative to a fault sometimes, which is absolutely amazing. So, but between him and Andrew, living on the conservative land of expectations and worst case scenarios and things like that, we're in a good position to under promise, over deliver on many aspects.
Amazing. Now, you said you're running lean, but you also said a little bit earlier that you have about 30 people on the team. That doesn't sound lean to me. Like, how's this work? Like, it's amazing that you got Florian on the team. Like, he sounds absolutely amazing. You have Andrew Westberg on the team as well as your CTO. Absolutely amazing to have him on board too. Who else is on the team? Who else have you got behind this project? Well, I know you can't name everyone, but just...
No. Tiziana is our CPO, so she's amazing. I had a call with somebody in the industry 2 days ago, and to quote him, he said, "Holy, this looks freaking awesome. Who did this?" And I said, "That's our CPO, Tiziana. Thank you." And she's so humble. I told her about the compliment. She's like, "Oh, that's Miriam and stuff." I'm like, "No, T, that's you. Yeah, you brought this team together. This is a direct byproduct of you." And to that point, I was on the Twitter space a couple weeks ago with Jeremy from Cardano Foundation, and he asked that very question. He said, "How did you get Andrew and all these people on board?" And to your point, they're all working for sweat equity. We have a couple of people who we are now paying a salary out in ADA to cover their monthly expenses, because they've chosen to forego a full-time job so they can work on this. Yeah. But everybody up until this last acquisition, last hire, was through people's personal networks. And so they have spent social capital of their own to reach out to their network of friends and people in their professional world that go, hey, this is something I think you'd be really interested in getting on board with. And so that's how we've grown organically, and we've accelerated quite a bit. A year ago, to date, it was just me and Flo, me and Florian together.
Incredible. I remember joining your Telegram group around this time last year, maybe a little bit later. And I think I joined, and there may have been about 40 people in there. And, I barely even use Telegram as it is. I absolutely hate the platform. You get way too many notifications. But, I thought
Discord too. I'm with you.
Yeah. You just got to turn everything off. But at least with Discord, I find it easy to organize with all the channels. But Telegram, I jumped in there and went, oh, okay, 40 people in here. It's I'll probably come back to this and check it out later. And I'm glad I did. Oh my God, you guys have grown so much, and the amount of growth and change and adoption and evolution over the last year has been absolutely amazing to see. It's
very humbling. To be honest, and it's a little terrifying from this standpoint, because I'm a musician. That's what I am. But you grow and you fill into the shoes that you need to fill into, and we've gotten to a point to where it's you've learned to wear different hats, and you look at the world a little differently, and I think it's never a bad thing. But yeah, we so just. Back to your original question of who we have on the team, you can go and check out at ProjectNEWM.io. You can get a laydown of a list of all the folk. But I guess from a Cardano perspective, another person who's been pretty actively involved in this since for almost a year it's Cody Butts, who's, if you know him, he's attached to Indigo Protocol, and so. He's our smart contract guy. He's been around he helped with the web development from the very beginning. I will never forget at the summit when I met Andrew for the first time in person. I told Cody, I said, Cody, I'm going to talk to him about this. He's like, okay. And I said, Cody, can you talk to him after this? He's like, sure. And they both sat down and they had a mini nerd out session.
Awesome.
Talking about different coding choices and platform and blah, 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 blah. I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about right now, but Cody's like animated, and Andrew, if anybody knows Andrew, like he's animated, and when you have both of them that are animated, you're going, okay, well, I don't know what this is, but they're having fun. So, so Cody's been involved in a long time. Jan Ramport is an advisor for us. He is an AI specialist. We can't afford him full time yet, but he's been very kind to be an advisor for us. We also have another big thing is security, right? And so our security advisor, he actually is from Australia, and he does quite a bit of work. To quote Andrew, he can't actually tell me all that he does because he does a lot of work with the Defense Department in Australia. So. Yeah, we have a hefty team. A lot of our developers came from Amazon, Google, Nike. So Andrew created, if I'm not mistaken, the DRM tool for the Nike Fit app for the video side of things. And so a lot of our devs he reached out to came from they're not just kids in the basement. Like they've been doing this for 20 plus years. So we have full stack iOS, Android server team. Cody's in smart contracts for Plutus, right? So we're using the Fracata contract from Seba. Thank you, Sebastian, for all that you do. But we've highly modified it to fit our needs.
Yeah.
And just in general, I'd say along the way, and I do want to say this, Rick McCracken, Pritesh, Kyle Solomon, Liberty Crypto Chris, Adam Dean, Marcos, all these people, they have been so supportive of this since Jump Street, like truly. And for me, that's a very humbling thing, because as well as I do that they're just magicians in the space, and they're heavy lifters that do a lot of things behind the scenes. They haven't been directly involved in the project, but they used a lot, not capital, but they've lended ears and given suggestions for how to get this thing started early on before I got Andrew on board going to town. So it's been truly, I kind of feel like it was a little bit of like the Cardano community, or at least my small community inside the community, going, "Hey, here, yes, we like this.
Do it. Do it. Come on."
Exactly.
They're pushing you forward. They know it's a good thing, and they want you to do it. That's amazing. Yeah. I think that comes back to the Cardano community in general. We're also supportive of each other. We all want Cardano to succeed, and any of these like gem little projects that are building out, we're all pushing it forward. And I think that all comes down to the community itself.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah,
totally agree. And I mean, also Big Pay too. He's been super supportive from Jump Street. Yeah. So I mean, just those the Bloom family. They've So it's been really a really cool thing. I said this to Pratesh because like people forget there are real people in this space. It's not just Twitter handles. And I've made probably some of the best and lifelong friends across a computer monitor that I finally get to meet in real life, at these live events. And it's a little bizarre, but really kind of cool all in the same way. So yeah, cool. This has been organic growth, and right. I'm very proud of that. So
I've got two last questions for you before we wind up. First off, when is the launch date for MVP? You said Q3. Is there anything specific?
Q2. End of Q2.
End of Q2. Okay, so it's pretty soon then.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really soon. Okay, all right. I'm really looking forward to playing around and see what you guys are delivering. Is it just going to be the streaming side, or also some of the artist side as well?
So the MVP is I tell this to musicians to think of it like this. Our MVP is going to be distribution and collection. So what does that mean? We don't have a streaming platform yet, but we have a white label solution to connect you to all the other streaming platforms. But what the important part of this piece of the puzzle is getting your piece of music fractionalized so you can do other things with it. So MVP is the fractionalization of of your rights, right? And then the distribution of that to the streaming services so you can start receiving royalty payouts. And then you can still sell those to other people, and they would still also receive royalty payouts until our platform adds that streaming service component to it. And FYI, our streaming service will be able to pay you more per stream because we're cutting out, we're replacing middlemen with code that's not incentivized to make a profit. So, but that's the first thing we're doing. And what informed that decision is what can we do immediately that will best support the artist? And that's it. If you can fractionalize, then you can go say, please give me money so I can keep creating without having to give all my rights away.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Again, from the artist's point of view. So that's absolutely fantastic. So I normally ask what do you think of the future of Cardano? But I don't think I need to really ask you that. It's pretty obvious, what you think of Cardano and how its future is going to look. But I'll probably end it off. Will you be at one of these events in October later this year, either CNFTCon or Rare Bloom?
We're going to be at both of them. So you'll be able to find NEWM at both places. And I think we'll be in a good place then, too, from a product standpoint. So we'll have some fun things for people to do at the booth. So, yes, we're looking forward to seeing folks.
And I'll be there as well. I just got my visa approved.
Oh, congrats. All right. Yeah. Well, you'll have to come and hang out with us at the booth.
I'm coming down. I'm coming over. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Finally get to meet all you guys.
I'm telling you. All right, Pete. I appreciate it, man. This is awesome.
All right. This has been an absolutely awesome interview. I think I've learned a lot, and I think the viewers are going to have an absolute ball listening and watching this one as well. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you so much, Pete. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Now, I'm pretty excited about this project. It's a very emotionless face, but I am really excited. It hits all the right nails on their head in terms of the front-end usage and ease of adoption and people being able to get into and use the platform in terms of streaming, all the way to the artists being able to sell and fundraise essentially by selling a portion of their musical rights on the platform itself. And the artists can start engaging with their fans and saying, hey, you can actually own a part of this song. It's an absolutely amazing and revolutionary platform. I can't wait for them to actually release this and to have everything in place. So it's very exciting to see this all come into fruition. Now, if you want to learn more about the stake pool, if you want to learn more about the project, all the links are down below for you in the video description, so you can find out more. Please read up on everything before you delegate your ADA to the NEWM stake pool. So leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about this project. I'm pretty excited about it. Like I said, I want to see what you guys think as well. That's it for me for this video. And if you really enjoyed the content, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on the notification bell, and hear more from me soon. See you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating.